Look for an occupation that you like, and you will not need to labor for a single day in your life. Welcome to Career Corner.
I'm Patrick Howell, your host for Career Corner. I'm talking with Jack Gottlieb, the president of Total Solutions Group. Jack is an expert consultant and someone who's going to teach us a little bit about the field of consulting. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Sure. So, Jack, the Total Solutions Group is the name of your company, right? It's the Total Solutions Group.
Correct.
And in that business, you are a consultant among many other things.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
That's a piece of what you do.
That's true.
Why don't you just, if you could, give us a general overview of what a consultant does?
Sure.
And are there any sort of specialty areas in that field?
Sure. Yeah, a consultant is somebody that really is a lot of different things. Just like a parent is to a child, a consultant to a business or any client is an advisor, a coach, somebody that's really there to help guide, whether it be the strategy of a business or support, or somebody that's just really there to really help be that kind of external eyes to really help kind of see things that maybe someone isn't seeing because they're in the trenches and don't see it. Most importantly, they're really there to help make sure to get that person or that company to where they need to go via that kind of support.
Sure, sure. Are there specialty areas in consulting, or is there really just just business consultants, or do you branch off in different areas? Like perhaps maybe are there folks who consult only in the healthcare field or banking, or those in?
Yeah. So there's that specialty side too. Like you said, there's that healthcare side. Even the fitness and health side, the human resource compliance side, the IT side. So really anything that in terms of business, if you look at a business and think of all the different functions that make a business succeed to support the needs of whatever they're to do, there's certainly trades that are inside of that you can be a consultant for. So if one has an expertise and they say, oh, I came from IT and I can't go do that, you certainly can. And that's the real beauty of the field, is that if you have had success, have an expertise, have a passion for it, and know you can add value, that's the great thing, is there really isn't a limit, and more so that beyond that, there can be that overarching of business consultant, or if it's just on strategy or leadership or sales, you can do that, but certainly the function side can be there as well, which is great for people to have.
Sure. How long have you been doing this work? How long have you been involved, not only as a consultant, but maybe take us back a little bit, and then how long have you had your business? Yeah,
the business has been around since September 30th, 2004, so I remember that day as well as I can my kid's birthday.
Okay.
And then been in the field for at least the past 14, 15 years. So, I mean, most of my career has been inside of this field, a good 90% of it.
Really? Okay. What did you do prior to owning your business? You were in consulting at the time?
Yes. So I worked for a company called Dale Carnegie Training, which was great in terms of corporate sales and training. And then before that, I was actually in sport marketing and public relations, which was consulting, working with whether it be the NFL or different tennis and golf properties to support their need to better sponsor, brand, get their, if you will, brand out there, or places like hotel chains or other places that want to align themselves in that sport, to help grow their business.
So you had a long lineage that led you to where you are right now. It wasn't just, this out of nowhere.
No, it's funny you said that, because when I look back on my career before getting into this field, starting at Carnegie, I didn't realize that's what I was already doing. I love the sport marketing PR field, but it really was consulting where you're learning, immersing, and really becoming either an expert or just one that has credibility in the field, and really looking at different ways to create value than just the folks that were there and being of support to it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of our viewers, right, it could be watching this show.
Sure.
And they're sort of wondering, well, perhaps I want to get into a field like this, become a consultant myself. Are there critical, elements that you would say are necessary to become a consultant, and then also, but even just as importantly, to create a viable business out of it, right?
Ooh, good question. I would say to make it one's career, you have to not make it about you. And I think there's so many consultants in our field that have great talent, great expertise, but they become the expert, meaning it's about their wisdom, their insight, and they're not taking a step back to realize you're there as a very small cog in a bigger wheel. Whether you're supporting a senior team at a company or if it's a healthcare function, as you alluded to, you got to not make it about you. And I think too many people get into it to want to add value, but then they get caught up in doing too much for giving their expertise out versus at times taking a step back. And it's not about what you say and what you do, but where are you adding value, and at times just what are you just learning and immersing. So I think that's one.
Okay, good.
I think two is looking at do you have a passion for this? So a lot of people can get in the field because it's just maybe a viable career option. Maybe they're looking at maybe I was let go from my job and I have an expertise, great. But you don't want to just jump into it because, well, this is now the ulterior option for me. Because someone's going to hire you for a function, a role, or a need that's really going to count on you for something, so make sure your passion's aligned, number one. Two, look at not only what talents do you have, what did you do, but what value did that create. And it's the same thing with resume building. Don't just list the things you did. What value did you create, so you can understand when you're going to market yourself, or maybe you're going to get hired for a temp position as a consultant, what value is it that you're going to offer, so as not to get stuck on the, here's my trade field and my trade function, but really making sure it's going to drive, whether it's results for a business, value and impact for a nonprofit, whatever that might be, making sure to really package that. And I think the last thing, to your point, is how do you build a viable business around it? Is, again, I go back to my original point, you can't make it about you. Not to say you can't name the company after yourself, but it has to be built around the value and service that you offer, not you, super credential person with XYZ years of this. I think that's one key thing. And then the second key thing is, whether it's building staff or just building services, make sure to continue to grow it. And you don't have to do a business, because maybe some people say, I don't want to build a business. I just want to, maybe be that independent person that offers stuff. Then I think it's looking at, and I'll end on this to your next question, is three key things. One, you got to be strategic. So from a skill set standpoint, you have to understand what you do. How does that equal to impacting the business, not just the function of IT, healthcare.
So being strategic then.
You have to do that, number one.
Yep.
Two, you have to have good questions. Because the consultant is no more valuable than anybody else in terms of that company or that need, unless they know the questions to ask, not just see how they fit, but the needs that they're offering. How does that fit into the bigger picture or the needs that are there? And three is influencing. How do you really influence where you can get people to buy in? Because you could have the greatest expertise in the world. No one's going to buy into it, and they're just going to say, yeah, thank you very much, and they're like, we're not going to listen to that guy. That won't matter. So those are the top three things, I think, to button it up in terms of what people need.
So the third one is actually really interesting, right? The concept of having to be a good influencer, because you run a business and you are a consultant, and you mentioned it's not, it can't be a show, it can't be about you, and yet you still have to drive, through dialogue and communication to be able to, to get people to want to, use and buy your services.
Sure.
Right?
Good point. That's a good point.
When you're looking at becoming a good influencer, because some people have that naturally, it comes to them, it's right there for them. Are there things that people can do who maybe have an interest, maybe they have the strategy end of things down, right? Maybe they have that piece down, but they're missing this sort of, communication sort of slash influence skill piece. What can people do to sort of develop that end of things?
Yeah, I think a great principle that I learned a long time ago was you have to earn the right. So I think the first thing is people get caught up in trying to sell or influence or be somebody that they're not, if it's at a chamber meeting or a talk or a business meeting that a colleague set up for them. Have I earned the right to be here? And it goes back to how you create the value is the same way that you actually will get the opportunity to create the value. So I think one is, have you earned the right? And remember why you're there. I think that's one. I think two, it's really researching whoever it is you meet with. Oftentimes people get fearful of that, whether you want to call it the old school in the 80s, you're going to give a pitch, not selling, but influencing, as you talked about. People get stuck in, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? And it has to be like what you and I are doing right now. We're having a conversation, and it's really about getting people in that mindset of, look, you're going to have a conversation with somebody. So take the time to research about them. Think of some questions you're going to ask that isn't about you, it's about the company. So I think, or the, whoever it is that you're doing the work for. So I think if you've earned the right and you realize you have earned the right to protect your own confidence to know you have earned the right, and then two, research about the company, forget about you, but target the questions around them. Naturally, it'll come back to you because, again, it's not about you, it's about that end result, and I think that's a key piece. I think from a tactical standpoint, the practicing of talking slowly, pacing oneself, don't get ahead of yourself in terms of what you're thinking, trust yourself to let the conversation go. I think among many tips, I think would be a good tip in how one would communicate, let alone with eye contact and so forth.
Yeah, okay, great. Are there, like in this specific field of consulting, right, is there specific education requirements or training that you need or that you would recommend? I mean, there are people out there, right, that could be watching this show right now that have been in business for many years and have done a lot of wonderful things from a business end of things. Are there specific career, education paths that you would recommend people follow if they want to?
Yeah, I think, there's that natural side that comes to it as well. But I think there is some, I will recommend, even just since we're asking this question, if one wants to get into consulting, there's a great book by Peter Block called Flawless Consulting. So I think it's one of the, hate to use the analogy of the Bible, but it is one of the Bibles in our field.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, it's a great book. So I think if one is natural at it, but wants to kind of package around that some things that will help them, I think that's a great book. You know, I think a lot of it also just comes back to also looking at training options. So you have the American Society of Training and Development, that's ASTD.org. Great organization for the training and consulting side. Wonderful organization. I think if people were, just to keep it simple for this segment, start with those two resources, I think that can spider web out for a lot of people. Among going to your Barnes & Noble, there's plenty of books that you can find in the business section that are there.
Yeah.
Free resources online. There's a wonderful array of resources that are there. But I would recommend, from my experience, Flawless Consulting, American Society of Training and Development. Great way that if you really want to build it and grow your skills, good way to start.
Great, okay, and that's a way to sort of get started. And once you're actually in the field, right, like everything else, there are people who are good at their job and people who are,
right.
I don't want to say bad, but maybe not so good at their job. What perhaps would make, you know, someone stand out to be an expert consultant like you, someone who's been really successful in business for many years, as compared to someone who's just providing a service?
You know, I hate to go back to the same thing of don't provide the show, but it's follow-up.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Follow-up. Same way as that one would sell or build a business is the same way one would sustain that business, is when that event is done. If I'm there with you for 3 months on a project, or if it's every other week for some training process or focus, however my process with you is working as a consultant, don't just make it about the event. It's not clock in, clock out, my contract says X, Y, Z. Roll out those sleeves and follow up because you really commit to creating value, which doesn't mean that the contract will outline everything. I think that's the most successful piece. Show that you really care and get it by following up to be of support, not be the show, not offer anything specific, but just make sure what's being done by your value is being sustainable.
Yeah, okay. Now you run your own business. Perhaps someone that has these skills wants to become a consultant, doesn't want to start a business. What are perhaps some other career paths? Is there work out there for someone outside of, saying, starting their own or going it alone?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can, for example, associations such as, for example, SHRM, Society of Human Resource Managers, or the NJOD, New Jersey Organizational Development Association. These are associations in the field of HR, organizational development, where consultants certainly do spend a lot of time among your chambers and other associations as well, that one can just go, and there are businesses go there to provide opportunities for employment. So it's a great way to network, but actually create conversation that showcases you in a very relaxed environment. I think that's a real critical piece for people. Besides, yes, you can find work just as a consultant. Companies are looking for that 6-month, 9-month person to come in as a consultant for a project time frame.
Okay.
But I say go out there so you can start to brand oneself. Today's the branding age of, you Inc. You don't have to have a business, but you do want to get yourself out there.
Yeah. We have less than a couple minutes to go here. There's always good points and bad points of any career, right, of any side of work. What would you say that you would recommend people consider when they're getting into, the field of consulting? What sort of stands out?
That's a really good question. Is this a commitment for the long term and the short term? If the short term, be honest with oneself as to how much value you plan to create. Because if you get involved in a project that someone's expecting more and you're not willing to, that's one aspect. The other is look at this like a craft. Look at it as a balance between art and science. Really that this is not just a job and a function, but really one that brings out one's best self, because you're bringing value to be an expert, but more importantly, one that's going to be, as I started off with, that guide on the side and that advisor to really help support something that's bigger than just the event. So make sure to be in touch with that bigger picture for yourself.
And I can tell you actually really love your work.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Maybe just real briefly,
sure.
What do you love most about the field of consulting? Just quickly.
The opportunity that while I'm providing value, I'm gaining as much value and development for me.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Well, I tell you, Jack, just being able to hear you talk about your field, it's no wonder that you are considered an expert in the field of consulting and you're running a wonderful business. And thank you so much for taking the time and educating our viewers on what it's like to be able to enter a field, the field of consulting.
I appreciate it. It's a real honor. I'm glad to have done this today.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps some of the viewers as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully it will. And maybe we'll have you back sometime.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So,
thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break and deal with some very important messages. We'll see you soon.
My dad's one of the producers.
Hi, I'm Patrick Howell, your host of Career Corner. We have some wonderful guests on these shows, and another one today. I'm going to be talking with Jennifer Marston, who is a co-founder of a company called townbeam.com. And she really is, in all senses, a collaborative entrepreneur. So we're going to really spend some time getting to know her a little bit and what it takes to be an entrepreneur and someone who collaborates with other people in order to be really successful. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, it's really great to have you on the show. So let's just start off with this, okay? What drew you to wanting to actually, number one, to be an entrepreneur in the first place, and then to decide that you don't want to do it alone, that you want to have a collaboration with a few other people?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I come with a pretty large technical background, but I also have a desire to work with people, and having that kind of discourse on a daily basis with other professionals drives me to be successful. And so I knew when starting a company with two other ladies, Gail Woods and Adele Harrington, that I would want to have that regular discourse and produce products that were superior to what was currently on the market.
Yeah, okay. Is this your first entrepreneurial venture,
yes,
the TownBeam?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So we're very excited about it, and we think that the three of us can begin where we are now and continue to deliver very hyper-local information to consumers.
Yeah. So with that in mind, why don't you just give us a general overview? What the heck is TownBeam, and
okay.
What is your role? What do you actually do there?
Sure. TownBeam is an application that delivers local information, local events, local information about businesses, and local maps, geography. So if you think of guides when you're going on vacation, like a Frommer's Guide, that we're kind of a cross between a Frommer's Guide and a Yelp or a Google listings. We do it better because we do have the local touch. We do know the local business person. We do walk the towns that we serve. So if you were to go to our site and you want to find out about one of our towns, right now we are in pilot, and it's called Atlantic Highlands is our town. You would find information about Atlantic Highlands, and I think you would come away really knowing the town and wanting to patron its businesses.
Oh, okay, good. And I mean, the site itself sounds really interesting, and your business sounds, really tremendous. And what I do know about it is it seems as though you guys are off to something really good. What's really interesting to me is this idea of being a collaborative entrepreneur, someone who can get with other people and really make a success out of it. Are there sort of any maybe critical elements that you would say to being successful as an entrepreneur or someone who collaborates with other people?
Yeah, I think you have to constantly be innovative, and you have to be willing to cooperate and listen. You have to be willing to keep abreast of your field and have the skills, bring the skills to the table that you have honed over the years, but also be willing to play many roles and do them dynamically with your partners. What we have found probably has been one of the biggest challenges is being able to handle everything that a small business has to handle. And that's really important, to work quickly but yet efficiently with your partners, and always have respect, because there will be differences of opinions, but I think what moves a business forward is perseverance and innovation.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that whole idea of having respect for the other people that are involved in the business, and I think you said listening, right?
Listening is very, very important, because you never know where the next best idea is going to come from, and you never know what's going to bring your company to the next step.
Yeah. And do you mean listening actually even to your partners, right? Like having that open dialogue, because that sounds like
listening to your partners, listening to, in our case, the local businesses, listening to your local governments. We had a meeting yesterday with our mayor, who is, very, very enthusiastic about our venture, and listening to, we have a separate business development angle, corporations with Google and 24/7. So we really, it's listening everywhere, but then being able to do 360s with that and use that information to bring yourself forward.
Yeah. If one of the viewers at home is saying to themselves, hey, I'd like to go down a similar path. Maybe they came from business, maybe they were in business before. but they're not an entrepreneur now. They'd like to be an entrepreneur, but they know they don't want to go it alone. They know they don't want to do it on, solo.
Yep.
Let me just ask you this first. Are there any sort of real critical pieces of education or characteristics that are needed in order to be really successful?
I think yes. I think there's two things. One, that you have to be willing to go it for the long term. You have to be willing to be excited about the business, and you have to be willing to work really, really hard, and that sometimes means late. You have to also know yourself and know what your strengths are and be able to use them, but also be able to use your partner's strengths and to constantly reevaluate them. So I would say yes, you want to evaluate who you are as a person, and then you want to make sure that you're up for the task, because it's not a minor task.
Yeah, and that piece of knowing your strengths and knowing other people's the strengths of your partners is huge. As a matter of fact, in my field, in my line of work, I'm very familiar with even the Gallup work, the Gallup organization work, where we recognize that if we get really in tune with our strengths and the strengths of people around us, we're much more successful.
Yes, yes.
In that sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then the other thing is, I would say that in business development activities, any small business is going to have a lot of business development activities. And I think what you can find in that is that if you treat it as a give and take situation where you're going out, yes, to generate business for your company, but at the same time you are giving back to those people that you're collaborating with on the street, or you're collaborating with when you're talking on the phone to a large company. So you're providing them with information, they're providing you with information, and it creates a cycle that hopefully will lead to profitability.
Yeah. And you mentioned before something about spending the time, right? So being an entrepreneur and being an entrepreneur with other people, it's not a quick, easy thing, is it?
No. I have a very big background in technology. I've been in technology for over 25 years now, so I have a computer science degree, and I'm used to working extremely, extremely hard because it is a field that demands that. But I have to say, having a family and doing it, it's extremely demanding, but it's also wonderful. And you have to be willing to pull the 1 o'clock in the night thing. You have to be willing to talk to your partner at 11:30 at night, because that's what makes you move forward. And it's also what brings excitement to it, because you wouldn't be talking at 12 o'clock at night if there weren't something really substantial underneath it.
Yeah. Right. So there's a whole lot of work then involved in it. This is at least from your standpoint, it's not a part-time gig being an entrepreneur.
It's more than full-time. More than full-time.
I mean, every single business out there, right, has the positives, hooray, the aspects of work and the things that just aren't so rosy, right? That's just the nature of the world. For someone watching this show, what would you think is important for them to understand about some of the aspects that maybe are a little bit more challenging?
I think it's challenging when you have things going your way and then you hit a bump in the road and you need to continue to, work and make things go your way again. And sometimes seeing the opportunity or meeting that challenge and moving forward isn't always so easy. But that's why working as a collaborative entrepreneur with others really helps you through those phases. You say to your partner, look, we have this issue, I've been working on this issue, help me out here. And generally speaking, between the resources that you bring to the table with your partners and then those resources that I was saying you pulled together outside, you can solve the problem. For example, one of the things that we did early on was said, okay, how are we going to do business development? We are a small company. We want a large broadcast audience. So we went to our local town, Atlantic Highlands, and marketed to them. But we also joined a Google competition, which we knew would give us a worldwide platform. And so we joined the competition, did well. We were in with 47 other countries, and we have a YouTube video up, and we have very good publicity from the head of their Geo Maps department.
Yeah, wow.
So it's really things where you have to be innovative and really think, what can I do as a small business to make my business get in the limelight?
Yeah. And getting all that stuff done, it sounds as though if you were a one-person operation, it would have been a lot more challenging. So that collaboration.
Yes, I would say to anybody that if they have any doubts that they're a person that can work totally isolated and alone, then they should really explore bringing on partners with them and making sure they like their partners. It's important that the people that you go to work with every day are people that you like. Yeah. And that you can enjoy their company. I mean, there are times...
So I was going to ask you that. Yeah, I mean, that's important, right? I mean, you don't want to jump in... So to that line, if someone is watching this show and they say, hey, geez, I want to be an entrepreneur, what would you recommend they do? I mean, do they pick up the phone and call their best friend? Do they go in the yellow pages or the white pages and look for some names? How would you recommend that people really...
It's interesting you say that, because our approach was that actually one of my partners is my best friend, but I knew her very intimately, and I knew her skills, and I knew that she had a lot to bring to the table. But I would say there's several different ways. One is to, explore people that you know, and if you're very, very comfortable with them and you feel that you can be open, express your interest with them. But you can also, there are plenty of sites out there, cofounder.com. You can go to a lot of places to find people that might have skills that complement yours. And then do a real thorough diligence with interviewing them, and also take into account geography. Because if your partner is very far away, in businesses like ours it's easier because we're a technical business and we do most of the things on computers. But some people will need to have their partners be able to get to their shop, be able to, to be on there and help out when they need the help. So, as a collaborative entrepreneur, you really want to make sure you're comfortable with your partners. It's really important.
I bet it would be. I mean, that's probably a huge piece of it, right? Or else it's not called collaboration, it's called fighting.
That's funny. That's true.
Yeah, you don't want...
We never fight. We never, ever fight. I have to say that I wouldn't even put that word in our dialogue. We do have disagreements. And what the thing is you have to come to terms with a way to resolve those disagreements. And usually one of us has the better idea, and then you have to be willing as a partner to accept the better idea and take it and run with it, and then find out.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you're really onto something with the, with this, not only the entrepreneurial spirit, but really figuring out how to collaborate well. Tell us, what are you holding there?
Here I've got, this is one of our business development. We've taken 2 tracks. This is our local track. This is the townwide garage sale for Atlantic Highlands, and we are an online company, but we wanted to do something where we could reach the masses of Atlantic Highlands and people visiting Atlantic Highlands. This draws over 500 people into our town to come to our townwide garage sale. So we put together a professional brochure for them with, if you were to look at our website, you'll see we're very geography based. We map everything. We use Google's technologies and really show off the town. So this townwide garage sale, there's a map on the inside, and the map basically shows every single house that's going to be on the garage sale. So this is a way of communicating, getting people to visit the site and getting them to interact with the site and want more from the site. And hopefully, they'll visit our businesses. They already are visiting our businesses, and this kind of thing, this kind of effort will help them. So.
Yeah. Would you recommend other people going down the it's a tough road, right? This I'm an entrepreneur, so I know it's.
Yes.
Would you recommend people saying, hey, I'll take on being an entrepreneur?
Definitely. I was in corporate world for quite a long time and worked for a lot of corporations doing really wonderful, excellent things. There's nothing more rewarding than doing something yourself, and really feeling the successes and the pitfalls. You feel them yourself and feel responsible for them. I would definitely say it's something to do.
Yeah, we got just 1 minute left here. What do you love most about your job and also townbeam.com? What do you love most about what you do?
I love the technology, honestly. The technology is cool. We are doing innovative things. We are fast. We are first. We are trying to find our niche. We are working with large companies, small companies, and I think the technology is really, really cool, and what's coming in the future is really, really cool.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Well, Jennifer, I have to tell you, it's it was a pleasure having you on the show today, and really sort of educating us not only about the specific work you're doing, but what it really takes to be somebody who knows how to collaborate and be an entrepreneur. Because there are people out there, right, that have a tremendous amount of skills, and they're looking to use those skills and in a way that that brings benefit to other people and to themselves. So thanks so much, and we really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.